you've got a stable relationship, you say. Right? Does this mean that you're going to get married soon?
When we have time, we will, but we would want to do it at a time when we don't have to go to work right away. You know, we would want to be able to take like a nice long honeymoon and all that. So we're just waiting for the right time.
Honeymoon in Minnesota?
Maybe, yeah.
It was a chilly night in New York City in 1989 when Johnny Depp's life changed forever. Standing in the lobby of a movie theater during the premiere of Great Balls of Fire, the 26-year-old actor was grabbing a Coke when he spotted her, 17-year-old Winona Ryder, the film's rising star. As Depp would later tell Rolling Stone magazine, everything else disappeared in that moment. It was a classic glance, like the zoom lenses in West Side Story, and everything else gets foggy. Neither of them knew it then, but this chance encounter would spark one of Hollywood's most iconic and ultimately heartbreaking love stories of the 1990s. But even though they had what could only be described as a Cinderella love at first sight meeting, it actually took them a while before they went on a first date. Literal months passed before a mutual friend finally brought Winona to Johnny's room at the legendary Chateau Marmont Hotel in Los Angeles. For Depp, who'd already been married and engaged twice before, don't worry, we'll do a video on that soon, something felt different this time. Despite his previous relationships with makeup artist Lori Ann Allison and actresses Sherilyn Fenn and Jennifer Grey, Depp would later confess that nothing in his 27 years had been comparable to what he felt with Winona. I guess what really made their connection so special was its innocence, particularly for Winona. In a surprisingly honest interview, she revealed that Johnny was her first everything, her first real kiss, her first actual boyfriend, her first fiancé, and her first sexual experience. This pure, almost fairy tale quality to their love story captivated the public, who saw in them a perfect blend of Hollywood's bad boy being tamed by its innocent ingenue. After they finally had their first official date, the relationship moved at lightning speed. Within 5 months, they were engaged, and Depp made what would become one of pop culture's most memorable gestures, getting Winona Forever tattooed on his right arm. The gesture was so powerful that it even won over Winona's notoriously protective parents. But there's more to the story than meets the eye. While the public saw Michael Horowitz and his wife bringing breakfast in bed to the young lovers and supporting their relationship in measured ways, her parents were also quietly ensuring their teenage daughter didn't rush into marriage with a man nearly a decade her senior.
Were your mother and father unconventional parents, do you think?
Well, not really. I mean, they've been called unconventional. It depends on what you mean by unconventional. They, you know, of course, they were active in the 60s, so they got, you know, labeled as hippies when really they weren't hippies. They were just kind of more on the intellectual side of the 60s than the other side.
They weren't flower children.
No, they weren't.
In fact, years later, in a joint interview with Vogue, Michael Horowitz would shed new light on their perspective of the relationship. They were the hottest couple in the US at that time, he explained, comparing their status to that of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's later relationship. They were cool. However, when Winona pointedly reminded her father during the interview, "But you stopped a wedding," his response was tellingly simple. "We loved Johnny, but you were 17. This parental intervention adds yet another detail to help us understand why their relationship, despite its intensity, never made it to the altar. Winona herself had always dreamed of marriage. She once told Cinema magazine that she was literally born wanting to get married. Her vision of marriage was deeply traditional and anchored in permanence. "I'd like to think it's just going to happen once," she explained, revealing herself as a self-proclaimed hopeless romantic who wanted not just marriage, but children, planning to take a lot of time off when that happened. Their love seemed blessed by the Hollywood gods when Tim Burton cast them together in Edward Scissorhands. Burton had a unique view of their relationship, both as their director on Edward Scissorhands and as a close friend. He observed something special in their dynamic. Winona had a unique ability to keep Johnny grounded. As Burton noted, Winona kept him calm, kept him cool. the gothic romance perfectly mirrored their real-life relationship. The mysterious, misunderstood outsider finding love with the pure-hearted girl next door. During filming, their off-screen chemistry was so palpable that Burton would later say it added an extra layer of magic to the movie. Alas, nothing gold can stay, and the very public nature of their love would ultimately contribute to its undoing. In a revealing 1993 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Depp admitted their fatal mistake. "It was my mistake to be as open as we were, but I thought if we were honest, it would destroy that curiosity monster. Instead, it fed it, gave people license to feel they were part of it."
Then, of course, you had the relationship with Winona Ryder, spectacular actress and a fabulous-looking woman, and this was made to be incredibly public. And I wondered whether that was something which you had anticipated, or whether that took you by surprise and made you unhappy.
Well, I just didn't. What happened was, I mean, you know, here I met this girl, and we get together, and we like each other, and we fall in love, and bing, we're together, and it's official. And then the next thing you know, it just becomes, that becomes the focus of the press and of people, and people are more concerned about your relationship than they are about the work that you're doing. So it doesn't become about the work anymore. It becomes about who you're hanging out with, and how many times a day you know,
Hang out with them.
become horizontal.
The constant scrutiny began to wear on them both, particularly Winona, who was still a teenager trying to navigate both massive fame and intense first love. All in all, the contrast between Winona's traditional dreams of marriage and family and the reality of their high-profile relationship under constant scrutiny created an underlying tension. The pressure reached a breaking point in 1993 when they ended their engagement. The aftermath was devastating for both of them. Winona, only 19 at the time, spiraled into what she would later describe as her girl-interrupted real life, a poignant reference to her 1999 film about mental health struggles. She was prescribed sleeping pills and entered such a dark period that she once fell asleep with a lit cigarette, waking up to flames. In her own words, she was embarrassingly dramatic during this time, but as she pointed out, you have to remember, I was only 19 years old. The aftermath of their breakup revealed just how deeply Winona had invested in those dreams of marriage and family with Depp. When she spoke to Elle magazine later, she described the painful irony of that period. "I had just done Dracula and Edward Scissorhands. I had just had my first real breakup, the first heartbreak, and I think it was really ironic because, like, everybody else just thought I had everything in the world, and I had no reason to be depressed. Everything was sort of at its peak, but inside, I was completely lost." The split wasn't any easier for Depp. During the filming of Ed Wood, director Tim Burton witnessed his friend's devastation firsthand. Burton would later reveal that Depp would often arrive on set in tears. When Burton asked him why the relationship ended, all Depp would say was, "It wasn't her fault. It was mine." Burton observed that Depp was fundamentally changed by the breakup, noting, "I felt weird to be around him, like he wasn't acting like Johnny anymore. It's almost like Winona took Johnny's soul, Johnny's love." While Depp famously altered his tattoo to read "Winona Forever," he never expressed regret about getting it. In fact, he viewed his tattoos as a journal, saying, "Even though we're not together anymore, it doesn't take away the honesty of the moment when I got the tattoo."
Johnny, I'm going to ask you this. Tattoos. Winona Forever, I presume that's Winona Ryder. Is that one still there?
Good guess. No, it's no longer there. We've split up.
You had the tattoo taken off?
No, of course not. I think these things to me, these tattoos, for me are a journal, and as opposed to writing it on a piece of paper, I just took the initiative and put it on skin. So I wear my journal. But even though we're not together anymore, it doesn't take away the honesty of the moment of when I got the tattoo, and it doesn't...
So, I mean, you don't look in the mirror and feel any regrets about having got it in the light of your current situation?
Not. I don't regret the tattoo at all. In fact, I mean, it's a part of my past, it's part of my history, and I would definitely keep it.
Their story has an unusual postscript that sets it apart from typical Hollywood breakups. Despite the intensity of their split, they maintained a respectful relationship over the years. When Depp faced personal struggles decades later, Winona spoke up in his defense, describing him as loving and protective.
Winona Ryder's calling her old friend and one-time fiancé, Johnny Depp, a really good man. Ryder coming to her ex's defense as Depp is suing the publisher of The Sun over an article that called him a wife-beater.
She told Cinema.com in 2001, "I had my first real relationship with Johnny. A fiercely deep love that I don't know that I'll ever have again. The first love is like that, isn't it?" Today, their relationship stands as a glimpse into an endearing story of first love and the sometimes impossible challenge of nurturing it under the glare of Hollywood's spotlight. Even though Johnny went on to other high-profile relationships and Winona found lasting love with fashion designer Scott McKinley Hahn, their brief time together remains one of Hollywood's most memorable love stories, a reminder of how even the most passionate romances can burn too bright to last.